Hello, this is Joe,
TJ.
and we are the Schoolhouse 302, and we are thrilled to be with you here introducing our book for this month. That's right, I said book. Typically, we have a couple, but not this month. We are completely focused for this Read This series on trust. And we can't think of anything more important in an organization. Trust is something that is easily lost, hard to gain, and difficult to maintain. And it really, when you're a leader, this is what will hold the organization together and allow you to achieve the desired results. It also takes a lot of effort, a lot of time, a lot of connectivity, remembering that this is a people business. If you're a principal at the building level, if you're at the district level, you have to always remember connectivity with people is where it's at. And trust is the glue for every successful organization. TJ, why don't you dive into what this book is?
Well, there is no other book like it, The Speed of Trust, Joe. I keep a copy with me. I know you typically have several by Stephen M.R. Covey, who has been on our One Thing series podcast to talk about trust. I think what we want to do this time is to dive a little bit into the reasons why we like this book so much and the way that it's structured in terms of your reading. I will say I love opening up with self-trust, the principle of credibility, and then relationship trust, the principle of behavior in terms of building relationships and having credibility on the team. You know, you've heard it from me a ton of times. I say it in the blog, I say it on our shows, but I can't get enough of the 13 high trust behaviors. The book is structured to go through each of those 13 high trust behaviors and why I like them from an organizational perspective, from a learning and from a teaching perspective, is that they're much to do with just the counterintuitiveness of trust in the first place. You know, you and I have written about the culture of nice and the circle of nice and getting trapped in nice, thinking that we're going to build friendships, we're going to build relationships, and then we're going to tackle problems. And the 13 high trust behaviors just point out that things like straight talk and creating transparency and confronting reality and clarifying expectations, these are all the ways that we build trust at work. And so the relationship, even the friendship, is built through doing the work, not before. And I love that Covey brings that to light and just points out the places where we can build trust at work through those behaviors. And then the one that I love above all else, and you know this because we're the Schoolhouse 302, leading better and growing faster, is getting better. When we demonstrate that we're getting better, we're working to better ourselves. If you're watching this on YouTube, if you're listening to this, it's on any of our channels, it's because you desire to get better. You can't make that explicit enough for your team that you want to grow. That builds trust in and of itself. If you haven't read this book, pick it up, read it. If you have read it, read it again, because we live in a world where trust is a necessity and it's getting more and more necessary.
Yeah, that's a great point. More and more necessary because there's so many things right now that is eroding trust, right? I mean, we look at anywhere in our country and it is polarized, and that polarization is affecting schools. There's nothing we can do about it. We're human beings and we're drawn to certain things. And this polarization definitely is in many ways affecting us at the building and district level. So one thing I love about this book, and those of you who are regular listeners know, we recommend typically a couple books. The Speed of Trust, though, this is something you have to get right. This isn't about something you pick up, read, and say, hey, I read The Speed of Trust. The last section of this book is about inspiring trust. And I think that's where we are right now as people. How do we inspire trust? How do we restore trust, even if it wasn't you who lost it? So let me repeat that. How do you inspire trust, even when it wasn't you who lost the trust? Maybe it's somebody else. And that's what we're being affected by now is people are in our organizations, they're in our schools, they're in our districts, And there's a level of distrust sometimes all around. Inspiring trust is critical. And he goes through clear steps that we think are simple that most people can do. Don't you think, TJ?
Yeah, I mean, that's the beauty of the book, the simplicity, but also tackling some of the ways that we might be thinking about trust that are just wrong.
Yeah. And so I love how it's a step by step approach. He approaches it in waves. And as you know, TJ, this is something that we have built where my day job, where I'm superintendent. This is a book that we have read as a book study. And that's a critical notion here. This is something you should read with your team. This should not be done in isolation. We read this and we got a ton of great feedback on this book. And I will say, anytime we hire a new administrator, this is the very first book we give them. And it is something we expect them to read, understand. And then as an administrator or supervisor, we work with those that we've hired on understanding the speed of trust. And let's not let that fall short. The whole premise of the book is when you have trust, you can move fast. People are not, really limited by the mental obstacles that worry and doubt and anxiety create, which is why this book is so powerful.
Yeah, and I think that's a great tip, Joe, for anybody listening, because what we tend to do is we have a book study and then our team gains a lot from the book study. We always recommend that as part of leadership development on your team. But then what happens when you hire somebody new? There are just those backbone books that the new people need to catch up with. This is one of them, The Speed of Trust. Don't just do the book study with the team. Consider buying the book for anybody who comes on the team after you've done that book study. There you have it. Another Read This, part of our One Thing series. Thank you for listening. Thank you for checking out the blog at theschoolhouse302.com. We always appreciate a like, a comment, a follow, and a share, and we will see you next time.